the Office 365 hackathon winners first?
Yes.
Is that cool?
Are you doing that?
Yeah. So do it with
Yeah,
these mics.
you got mic.
How would you fix it? Okay, I can do that. All right. Hey, before we get going with the Q&A, there are some of you who participated in the Microsoft Office 365 hackathon last night, and Igor, where is Igor? Igor and I got to weigh in on which ones we thought were going to win. So who did that? Raise your hands. A bunch of you. Okay, good. Okay, so there were a bunch of teams. We picked 3 in the top. Tied for first place. Let me describe these a little bit for you. So Angular apps that sit inside Office apps, the 2 we actually tied for first place, these guys will receive Xbox devices. I don't think we have them here. You'll get shipped to your house or something. But there was one team who built a Word to Markdown converter. It's amazing you can do this in one night. I think they actually had to do a bunch of crazy XML parsing to get this done. And the other team built let me unsubscribe from all of my junk in one fell swoop. So you get this nice list of all the things that look like they might be junk. They have unsubscribe links. You can just click them off. You could review them to see if they're right. That was also pretty cool. As a third place winner for thematic appropriateness, there was a very nice Back to the Future themed plugin. I don't actually know what it did. It was supposed to service my DeLorean, I think was the idea. But I don't have a DeLorean, we couldn't test it. But nice third place winner. I don't know what you get, but go see the folks in the hack space and they have something nice for you. So thanks for participating. On to the Q&A.
Great, thank you. So if you haven't already, ask Angular, hashtag, and you get tweeting for questions. So the first one, what feature not present or planned from another framework language tool would you love to borrow and add to Angular? Who's going to take that one?
So can you repeat the question? What feature that is in some other?
Yeah, what feature would you like to borrow from another framework, language, or tool that's not already planned or present? Silence.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Good
yeah,
question.
Being released. I think that's a good feature we'd like to steal.
Being released. Okay. Okay, what about widget libraries for Angular 2? Do you have info about Material, UI, Bootstrap?
Yes. Where's Jeremy? How did you manage to not get on stage, Jeremy?
We will schedule bigger stages next year.
Work has started on Angular Material on Angular 2. It is in early experimental prototype stages, nowhere near ready for use. But we hope to have something that we can show off by the next ngconf.
Jules, you want to talk about the other widget libraries?
Yeah, so I've been working with some of the other widget library owners like UI Bootstrap, and actually Pavel and Wesley Cho are committed to making that happen for NG2 as well.
Telerik with the Kendo UI is working on the Angular 2 version, as is Widmo. So, and there's probably many that we don't know about, so there'll be plenty of widgets to choose from.
Great. Is there something like ng touch in Angular 2?
So
I think Jeremy again.
Yes. So as part of Angular Material, we are going to be doing some research and implementation on a gesture library that is going to be used by Material, and hopefully that will be also available as a standalone thing that you could use.
Thank you. I heard transclusion is called projection in Angular 2. Is that right? And if so, why did you change the name?
NG transclusion, is that the question?
Transclusion, it's called projection.
So this was to align with web standards. In the web standards spec, feature very similar to transclusion is called content projection, and they use a content tag to do that. So we align with them so that we don't come up with new terminologies and then give you opportunities to make fun of us. Yeah, we're going to put Shy out of business, sorry.
Great. When will the component router be available for NG1? Pete?
Component router.
When? Sorry, router.
So the component router will be, for the time being, versioned along with Angular 2. You can actually, if you're really savvy, build the router for Angular 1 yourself by checking out Angular/Angular on GitHub. Immediately after this conference is done, that's the next thing that I'm going to do, is publish this thing. So within the week is my timeline for when you should be able to use it. And it'll go 1.0 or stable along with Angular 2.
Great. Are there docs for the new module hash component method for creating directives of ng1? I couldn't find anything.
Well, you can't find docs about that right now because we haven't merged it yet. It's still a pull request. So there are docs within the pull request, but once we've merged it into master, it will be there. Okay, great.
Why template strings instead of a preprocessor like JSX in Angular 2?
So there are two ways. So if you want to specify a template inline, then we use template strings. You can also specify a template with a URL, so we grab it from that place. So JSX is, I hope everybody knows JSX. So the idea there is they enhance JavaScript with additional tags, so you can write tags in line with your JavaScript, and then it converts it into code. Like you say, bracket open some element, and it converts it into a new call for an object in the end.
And I don't know if you guys stopped by the WebStorm booth, but I actually saw them with that inline code being able to do nice IntelliSense on the code, the variables, and the method names within that. So good stuff going on.
No, sorry. I wanted to explain. Okay, and the point why we don't use JSX is especially for template authors. Like we want template authors to be able to use their HTML tools that they already have, and then just take that template that they wrote, maybe with an HTML editor, and just take them over to JavaScript and use them in the components. With JSX, that's not trivial to do.
And I mean, to that end, we actually care a lot about the design end of the spectrum. Be able to have folks who are, again, more comfortable with the HTML templates are able to edit them, be part of your workflow. And we think it's really important.
By the way, Brad, we're actually working with the Visual Studio Code team to build something like this auto-completion and compilation, all this kind of stuff for Angular templates too.
Yep. Be a lot of good editor support.
So, but maybe a last hint. So with our new compiler pipeline, we're actually able to have a completely different syntax if you want to be a little crazy and build your own prototypes. So theoretically, it would be possible to combine, to use any template language.
Yeah, if someone wants to build JSX, we would love it. Be fine.
Cool. Do you plan to update Angular 1.x with something similar like Angular 2.0 form controls? Get $invalid without rendering.
It's all right. Say that again.
Okay. Do you plan to update Angular 1.x with something like Angular 2 form controls?
Oh, that. Yeah, you got
Like get $invalid without
So the question is, will we backport the Angular 2 form controls back into Angular 1?
Exactly.
This is something we've been bouting around in meetings, and we're still not convinced whether it's going to be beneficial for Angular 1 at this stage. But it's definitely not been ruled out.
So, in what parts of Angular 2 do you need more help from the community right now? Documentation?
Actually, there's a special section for community, and you can go to GitHub right now and go to the labels and find the stuff we've marked as good items. If you are passionate about documentation and you're actually kind of good at it, then we would love to hear from you too, because yes, there are many sections in the developer concepts. Oh, yeah, Naomi runs this. Sorry,
I just want to make it easier for you to find where we want community contributions. If you go on GitHub, there's actually a label called community contribution that you should go look for. And we have this on core Angular, we have this on Angular material. And likewise, if you're interested in docs, you can ping me. I'm Naomi B.
Great. Are you planning any more breaking changes?
If we don't die.
Do you have any news about the Internationalization project?
Yeah, so the internationalization project is a little behind schedule, but we now have developer working on it, and we expect to have pretty good progress done by the end of the year. So stay tuned.
Cool. What are the next steps regarding Angular 2? Beta, release candidates, etc.?
All right, so we're going to continue to do releases where, and I mentioned this in the keynote, but there's kind of two piles of stuff we need to get through. So one is the docs, and pretty much every week I tweet out with a little graph at how we're doing against our goal. Kind of like at 43% of the total API surface area. But we actually think that it's most of the stuff you need to get going. There's also a list of, again, if you go into our labels and look for the P1 bugs, these are the critical things we think we need to get done before beta. We're going to flush those through, and then we'll have it.
Hi, I'm new to Angular. Should I learn NG1? Or what if I want to go into production soon?
Depends on how
It's a
soon
tweet.
you mean soon. If it's this week, yes, you should use Angular 1.
Right.
You know, and the way I'm starting to talk to folks now is, you know, we have teams at Google who want to go to production in Q1 next year. And so if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to go to production later than that, you will have some people who have beaten down the path for you. If you're going to be, you know, really conservative, you'll wait until we've marked it as 1.0. But we, you know, just want to be clear that we think the core actually works well. But as I mentioned, it doesn't have all the docs there. You might have to read some source code if you were going to be aggressive with it. And there are bugs, but we make a good documentation for that too in the bugs.
Okay, we're running low on questions, so guys, you need to be getting tweeting, okay? The hashtag's up there, #AskAngular. Okay. How do teams decide between event streams versus traditional data approaches with Angular 2?
Victor, you want to take this?
What was the question? Was between event streams and traditional approaches?
Between event streams versus traditional data approaches, correct?
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So we outlined some of the benefits of approaching applications from more reactive fashion, but whether or not it makes sense for your team, I think it depends a lot on the makeup of your team. If your team is a background of really strong object-oriented people or Java programmers who have strong object-oriented backgrounds, maybe thinking in this reactive way is a little bit too far too soon, and so if you want to try to take advantage of it, it's good to experiment to develop different components using the patterns we outlined in our talk yesterday and some of the things Ben talked about today, and see how well it fits your app and your team. But I would just take baby steps and see. But there are a lot of benefits, and that should be weighed for each application and each part of the application to determine how you should wire it together.
The other thing to consider is also what is the application that you're building. If the application is highly interactive, or if it communicates with a data source that pushes data in very rapid fashion, then using streams is much better way to go. Even if it's something new to you, I think if you pick it up, you'll see that it's a better fit for your project. So that's something to consider.
Cool. An important question here. Is it true that Mishko isn't here because he's busy working on Angular 3?
No, he's busy working on his child number 3 and NG upgrade, but yeah.
Cool, congratulations. Just also, while we're doing this, talking about videos, the videos are already starting to go up on YouTube. So if you have missed any of the talks during the conference, they are going up now as we speak, and they should be all available in the next day or so. Next question. What is the plan for tidying up the need to list the components that exist in the template?
I'm sorry, please say it again.
What is the plan for tidying up the need to list the components that exist in the template?
So right now this is a necessity because of how the module system is wired with the rest of the framework. We're thinking of using tooling to remove this need and at least move the imports into the template where I think where they belong. Maybe things like Angular CLI could help with this stuff. So we are definitely thinking about this because it's kind of annoying even for us, but it's one of the things that is, if we remove that need, then many other things that make Angular awesome would disappear or would not be possible. So.
Also, I have experience with lots of very large Google internal Angular applications, and it happens a lot that somebody refactors something and then suddenly your module doesn't depend on another module which brought in this directive anymore. And so it's a very common cause of errors and bugs in programs when you refactor your code, that you lose the dependency on a particular directive. And so it's actually, for that, it's really nice to explicitly import the directives.
Cool. So what happened to the cardboard?
Oh, yeah. Time for a story.
It's time for a story. You guys ready? This one is a good one. So you all know that Jules joined our team relatively recently, fairly close to Angular Connect. And we were talking about what we could do for Angular Connect. And Jules said, let's do a contest. And I said, that is crazy sauce. There's not enough time to do a contest. And Jules said, I will run with it. So she did. And went to the cardboard team and asked them if we could have enough cardboard for everybody here. And they said no. They had run out of cardboard. So undaunted, Jules went on, they gave her a referral. They said, go talk to our friends and partners at Unofficial Cardboard. They will help you. So Jules went and talked to Unofficial Cardboard, and they said, yes, they could do it. They could even do it. It would be even better because they'd be able to make it special for the conference. So we were ready. We got ready. We said, yes, do it, ship it, print it. Can you do it in time? And they thought about it. They said, it'll be tight, but yes, we can do it. So we're very excited. They went off and they started working on it. And then there was a production problem. The machine that they used to make the cardboard, the die broke. This had not happened before. So they didn't mention it. They said, it's okay, we can fix it. So they got another die. They printed them all up. They got them ready. They put them on the truck. The truck broke down. They were really, really sorry about it. The truck broke down. And so we were pinging them going, where's the cardboard? Like, yeah, the truck broke down. We feel terrible about this. But it's on a plane. We got another truck. It's on a plane. It's going to get there. And we can track it on FedEx. We can see it gets to Stansted, which is, if you were to drive it, I looked it up in Google Maps, Stansted Airport is 40 minutes by car from here. So they're really close. But they were on the other side of an impenetrable barrier called customs. And customs did not like the way the paperwork looked. And they said, well, it's not proper paperwork. We need a number. And we said, well, what kind of number? And we don't know. And would a VAT number work? Probably. So we gave them a VAT number. It turned out that was the wrong number. It was looking very bad. And at this point, Ruth gets on the phone to the British government. She's talking to, I don't know, David Cameron probably. And they said, no, sorry, it's a very serious rule. It'll take 3 days. And we said, well, 3 days, everybody's going to be gone. We have to submit the paperwork, sorry. So I called folks in Dublin who know shipping at Google, and I said, we have this embarrassing late problem. Can you help? And they said, maybe. And so then they started talking to FedEx. And FedEx said, well, all right. The problem was with the paperwork, and the folks at Google said, well, we could get new paperwork that was actually fixed and correct. And they said, maybe that would work. So we went back and we got the paperwork. We filed it with FedEx, and FedEx blessed it, and it passed customs, and there was great jubilation. And then FedEx said, actually, there's a problem. We're ready to put it on a truck, but there's been a terrible crash. This is morning. There's been a terrible crash on the M11, which is the road that goes between Stansted and London, so it's not going to make it. And Jules was really sad. And I said, it's not done. So we got on the phone between Google Shipping and we had our top Google Transport minds on it, and I suddenly realized, wait, this is Google. Maybe we have do we have a plane, a helicopter? And Ruth was like, I think it was Ruth who said, there's a helicopter pad on the roof, and you guys know there's an airport right there. Maybe we could just fly over the M11. So anyways, that didn't happen. But it would have been really epic if it had. Anyways, after all this, FedEx were, I don't know, I think they took pity on us. And they said they would try. So they put it on the truck, and the truck drove here. We gave them very specific instructions for like how to drive. They actually drove the truck into Excel London. And the cardboard is here. So
Hey!
And if you have a look on Twitter, you can see a photo of Jules and Ruth reacting to the news that had arrived literally as we were coming into the room for this session. So we are super excited. I actually have devices to give you all. We hope you'll participate in the contest. And it was a long journey to get here. We hope you appreciate it fully. It turns out shipping cardboard devices, physical things, is much harder than shipping a release. Now we know.
Thanks, that's great news. Okay. Next question. What is the biggest Angular app so far in terms of users?
Yeah, I don't know. PayPal's pretty big. Amazon.com.
Heard of them.
I don't know. Yeah, we don't actually get the numbers. So we just make the software. There's no tracking telemetry. We actually don't know where you guys live. I wish I knew. You guys could tell us. You guys could tell us.
At this stage of Angular 2, what are the major limitations or issues?
No docs. No, there are docs, but I don't know. Like Igor, you got,
Not released.
yeah.
I have the fact that our support consists of come talk to the team. I guess that comes down to no docs, but to scale this.
There's still a lot of stuff we need to do with regards to the payload size. We know about this, like the current bundle is huge and it's not practical, but there are specific things that we know we need to do in order to reduce that, and that's going to be happening after this conference. Yeah, tooling and the ecosystem are the next things. Like Angular 1 is awesome because it has this huge ecosystem around it, whether it's people, speakers, widgets, and tooling, and all this stuff. We need this for Angular 2 as well. But it was hard to do that before the core was stable. Now that the core is stabilizing and the APIs are stable, it's much easier to build on top of that, and that's the next thing we need to do.
Cool. I might be able to answer this next one. Who amongst you is the best dancer? I do have some pictures from last night. I think Igor. Who saw Igor last night? Yes. It was good. It was good. I might share that. Okay. Will Angular 2 support IE 9 to 10 forever, or maybe just drop it in version 3?
Amadeus?
Well, so actually we contributed this code for i9 because for us it was vital to support all the browsers. We knew that we are getting a lot of traffic for some applications from different parts of the world, for real applications from all their IEs. But obviously no one enjoys like supporting all browsers, right? Like this is, I mean, you have to be a masochist to actually enjoy this. So I think like everyone wants to remove this code as soon as possible, right? But I guess it's really based on the usage patterns, right, that we are going to see. So no, I mean, we want to remove this craft as soon as possible.
Cool. Would you recommend using observables or immutable data to most apps? And if so, which one?
I wouldn't say about most apps, but I would say if you like this way of building apps, like using like Redux or Flux and whatnot, you should use immutable data because it's easier to reason about. So you'll be able to understand what's happening in your application very easily. And Angular 2 actually is built in a way that it supports it sort of internally. So your app will actually be a lot faster if you use immutable data, or maybe a lot faster. It actually depends. So I would start with immutable data, but not for most apps. If you actually feel comfortable using immutable data.
Cool. Another serious one. Where did Jeff's beard go? All right. All right.
We're not sure. We'll tweet when we find it out.
Okay, great. We all know how to code Angular 1.x apps badly now. What do you think will be in common in Angular 2 anti-patterns? That's an easy one to answer, I'm sure.
We don't know yet, but because like these anti-patterns, it's not something that you plan. It's something that you observe and see like, why are they doing that? Or why did I do that last week? That's not right. Like we're trying to take all of the learnings from Angular 1 and all the things that we see people doing poorly in Angular 1 and making sure that in Angular 2, the default way is the right way. I'm sure we'll get few things wrong. Our goal is to minimize the number of these things. So.
Never underestimate your user's ability to surprise you.
Cool. Will there be a code school course for Angular 2? The Angular 1 course was useful. Code school.
Yeah, I talked to the Code School guys a couple days ago, and they will be having an Angular 2 course soon.
Great.
One thing about the anti-patterns, I just realized, in Angular 2, we are putting a lot of stress on not doing DOM manipulation in your components. And we really are serious about this, because if you start doing custom DOM manipulation in your components, you will be limiting the options of where your component can be used. So that's really something you should avoid. And we are making sure that all the APIs allow you to do everything in a better way without custom DOM manipulation. And if you need to do custom DOM manipulation, there is a special way to do that.
I'll also chime in. My talk yesterday was about some best practices in Angular 2. So if you watched the talk and then did the opposite of that, those could be anti-patterns.
Thanks. That's helpful. Service worker and NG2, question mark.
So no is the answer right now, but it might not stay that way. I've looked into it a little bit. It's fairly different than web worker, despite existing in this worker environment. I think from an infrastructure perspective, we can totally, no, I'm not going to say that. We can probably support it with a lot of the same code that has been written. But the real question for us right now is use cases. So we brought web workers here to see how would you all use them. And we'd love to hear how you would use service workers so that we can build tools for it, because I think right now we're just not sure how it fits into the model.
We definitely have some plans, though, to work on making it easier for you to build offline Angular applications, and service worker, we're looking at as one of the things that might factor into that, but no definite plans yet.
Can I add to that?
Cool.
One thing to add is that you can still use service workers with Angular 2. It's just I wouldn't run the application in the service worker. And the biggest reason for that is that the lifetime of a service worker is kind of unpredictable. The browser will spin it up whenever it needs it and shut it down. And this is where your application lives, and you can't just have browser, spin it up and shut it down whenever it wants to. So you can use service workers for things that are specific and you should use service workers for, but you would run the application in a web worker and have the web worker talk to the service worker.
What's the timeline for the Angular CLI? Will it be matching the Angular 2 release timeframe?
We need a lot of help with that, so it depends on how much help we'll get.
Okay. Can I make immutable data change detection the default for all my components? Victor.
So you can. You can subclass the component decorator. You can enable so-called push components, and then they will be like immutable friendly, take advantage of immutable data. So you can do it. Yes, you can.
Cool. Okay, so talking about docs, will examples on the Angular 2 docs be in ES6 or TypeScript? Or both?
So when we started the docs project, we looked at all the languages we'd have to cover. So we have TypeScript, we have ES6, we have ES5 JavaScript, and then we also have Dart. And maintaining all of these and writing them all with 4 versions, honestly, it was me. I said, I can't do 4, I can do 3. So we argued about it, and we may yet change our minds, but the decision so far is we'll do them in TypeScript, ES5 JavaScript, and in Dart. And the reason we're not doing them in ES6 is not because we do not love ES6 developers, but because I feel that ES6 and TypeScript are similar enough, and the developers who are writing code today in ES6 are advanced enough that you can read between the lines. That is my hope, but if I'm wrong, I'm hoping that I will hear from you about it, and we may change our minds.
What challenges have Google developers encountered in planning to migrate existing in-house NG1 apps to NG2, if any?
I think a lot of it is just if you've got a very big application, as these first ones that we're migrating are, understanding the full scope of how you've built your application, what does that architecture look like, and mapping it into Angular 2. And we've kind of developed this process where, I don't know if it's really shareable, because Google infrastructure, Jules says yes, she's going to share it. Okay, and they have gone through some planning. It kind of looked like this, that we look at the whole architecture, look at the idioms in Angular 2, and then we take an inventory of all the components and the ways they're architected. So on my team, Green Tea, we have like over 500 components, and we took a look at each of them, broke them into categories of, okay, what types of idioms do they use in Angular 1, and what do we have to do in Angular 2? We then went through a sort of a grouping that, hey, we can sort of migrate this application by feature area or kind of by tab. And in those tabs, what would be a nice small one we could do first? And we'd say, okay, well, this needs 80 components. Let's migrate those. And that actually, it turns out the first couple components you need to migrate are the toughest part. That actually requires most of the work to be done. So we'll work to externalize some of this stuff. Jules, do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, so I've been working with the Green Tea team who is managing sort of the upgrade process, and I'm waiting for them to get to a state where I can take sort of the project management artifacts that they've used and see if I can both clean them up enough that you could reuse them for your projects, or if that's not possible, then I will clean them up enough that we can actually release it as an example so that you can learn from the way that we did it internally.
Okay, so we're running out of time, so this is going to be the last one. Do you have examples, best practices for components with multiple rendering platforms like web, Android, no inline templates? Examples, best practices.
Say it again, please.
Do you have examples or best practices for components with multiple rendering platforms like web, Android, no inline templates?
No, we don't have that yet, but I think it's a great topic. Yeah, we'll take it as a to-do.
Yeah, so the main best practice is don't use the DOM directly, because the DOM is not there on Android.
Cool, so we're finished with questions from the audience. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I really want to thank the organizers, Josh, Ed, Pete, and particularly Ruth and her team. You guys have been so awesome. For us, the show's been great. I hope it's been great for all of you guys. Maybe a little applause for the folks who put it together.
Okay, on that note, I think Pete's got some stuff to say.
Okay, so don't go anywhere. Do you guys want to stay here or just chill out down there a bit more? It's up to you. But we've got a few Twitter prizes to hand out from the Twitter competition that we had on earlier. Excuse me a minute, can you just hold that?
Yeah.
I need to put my roll on.
Supposed to use hats, not shirts. Yeah.
There you go, I'm back into the other mode now. Okay, so we've got 6 prizes to give away, and we've selected 6 tweets from the ones that have been sent in over the last 2 days. Ruth's going to hand out the prizes, and I'm going to announce them. I just need to grab the clicker so we can click through them. Okay, right, so hopefully if I click this, we'll get the first one up. From Daniel Stregola, sorry. A real struggle this morning. Shall I wear my Back to the Future t-shirt or my brand new Angular Connect one? And I know lots of us struggled with that this morning. And if Danielle is here, have you gone? Going to give you 5. Hey, there you are. Come on down. Come and collect your prize. Well done. Well done. Right, next one. Great, from Kamal. Great talks. If you're Kamal, you can start coming forward now while I'm reading it out. Great talks and tech at Angular Connect. The possibilities are now truly endless. Are you here? Stand up, walk forward. No, let's move on. Yuri, lots of live demos here at Angular Connect, which is really cool. Huge +1 to the speakers, all of you. Well done. I did not do any live coding. I cannot claim any responsibility for that. Is this Yuri? Hey, give him a round of applause. Well done. Next one. Live coding seems to have been a theme of the conference because the next one was also these guys at Angular Connect doing super smooth live demos, and you're not talking about the Angular organizers in this case, without a safety net. It's very scary, especially in front of a room this size. So Chris Parfer, if you're around, can you come up? He's gone home as well. And I think last but not least, no, 2 more, sorry. Lee Spring. The best conversations at Angular Connect take place during the breaks. Meeting some interesting people, having interesting conversations. And this is really important to us as organizers, so I love this tweet. It's one of my favorite ones. Are you here, Lee Spring? Oh,
He's too busy. He's probably outside chatting with someone, yeah? And finally, although this one's from Martin Kontonovikas, I mispronounced that, sorry. What we really wanted was the guy who drew this picture, because I think it's fantastic. So this is, Martin says, one of the Angular Connect attendees did a drawing of me with Jedi costume for the talk. So who drew this picture? Oh, hello, come on up. Oh, hold on a minute. What's your name? What's your name? Maya. Maya. Well, congratulations, Maya. Okay. So those are our Twitter winners. Thank you all for who tweeted in and helped promote the conference over the last couple of days. You can throw them into the crowd. There's one there, one there. Ruth's going to run around and hand them out. Okay, so we're nearly at the end. I'd just like to say a few thanks. I'm not going to take very long. But first of all, I'd like to thank all of our sponsors. We've got so many of them. They're absolutely wonderful, and they've really made a difference in being able to put this on. I'm just going to list them quickly off. We've got Wrangle, Hired, M&S, Sky, Computer Futures, Midland HR, Office 365, Small Improvements, WeSwap, Mandrill, JetBrains, ThoughtRoom, Zalando, Angular Bootcamp, and GFT. Let's give them all a round of applause. They're fantastic. And of course, we cannot forget the Google team, the Angular team at Google, because they have supported us in many, many different ways, and not only by coming and speaking today. So I'd like to thank you all as well, Brad and the whole team. So give them a round of applause as well. And in a similar vein, I'd like to thank all of the speakers who've spoken this week. I think we had about 60 people speaking during the conference, which is epic. Ruth was telling to me that when she runs conferences, normally she gets to know most of the speakers quite well. And she says, I just could not cope with the number of speakers. I couldn't hold them all in my head. So there's a massive number. And if I named you all, we'd probably be here by midnight still. So just let's have a round of applause for the fantastic quality and content that we've had this week. Just to let you know, the speakers' presentations are all going up on YouTube, and the actual talks, as long as they've sent them to us, we will put links to those on our website and hopefully on the YouTube videos as well. So you should be able to get access to all of those over the next week or two. Okay, so finally, I'd like to thank the various teams that have been hiding around in the background, making this conference just run so smoothly. We've got On Digital and ACA, who've been doing all of the AV and the live streaming, and it's been impeccable. I think you can agree that all of the technical side of things has just run fantastically. So let's give them a round of applause. And of course, to all of the helpers and the staff at the Excel Center and the catering staff and the various people who clean the toilets and make everything just work beautifully for us. They're the hidden gems behind an exercise like this, and so we should all give them a round of applause because they're very, very important. Now, we really, really value your feedback, okay? We're hoping that this is going to be an iterative process and that we can improve upon this in any future events that we do. So we're going to be sending you all feedback forms, which I hope you can fill in and email back to us. And I'd like to finally thank all of you people who've come to attend this conference, because you guys are the ones that made the difference, okay? You guys are the ones who created the vibe and the atmosphere that everyone has been telling me, this is such a good feeling, everyone's really having lots of fun, and they're all communicating and connecting with each other, which was the fundamental aim that we had at the very beginning of setting out to do this conference. So I'd like to thank you all, give yourselves a clap and pat on the back and say, well done for really making this conference special for us all. And of course, there's a few people that I have forgotten to thank, and these people have been absolutely pivotal in getting this up and running, and hopefully Josh and Ed are around somewhere. Oh, I knew this would happen. Hey! So, Ruth, Megan, Vicky, June, Can you all come up on the stage? We might have a couple of things to give to you. These guys are unbelievable. They made this conference fly along, and Josh, Ed, and I just wanted to say a special thank you to them.
Thank you. Welcome. Sorry, this is so self-indulgent. I'm so sorry.
Okay, and sadly, it's time to say goodbye. I wish you all a wonderful journey home to whichever part of the many parts of the world that you all came from. And I hope that you take some of the connections that you've got from this conference with people and with content and with information and ideas and take it back and use it. And hopefully we might see you again in the future, if we're very lucky. It's Back to the Future. Thank you very much, everyone.